Welcome to the Jaros Health Podcast, where we make it easy for you to better serve older adults. This is the weekly Jerry on Ice segment that is a collaboration with the Institute of Clinical Excellence, the official Con Ed provider for the Jaros community.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jerry on Ice version of PT on Ice. My name is Christina Previtt. I am one of the two lead faculty for the Modern Management of the Older Adult course. Happy Wednesday. Before I get started, I wanted to say a big thank you to everybody who reached out to me about the birth of our little one. Maya Previtt was born April 29th. At 10:35 in the morning, she weighed 5 pounds, 15 ounces. She has already gained weight. She is up at 7 pounds now, and she is doing great. Hopefully I don't have too many bags underneath my eyes with newborn life, but she's actually sleeping pretty good as well. There's been a lot happening in the ICE community. The last time I was on the podcast, we announced the partnership between Jaros Health and Stave Off. We've had a couple of people message us about that, which is great. We just finished a online Modern Management of the Older Adult course. I always get so jazzed and excited about these courses because we always learn so much, and we get these just super motivated clinicians who are talking to each other and sharing ideas. And as much as we're providing the content, we always feel like we are gaining just as much and we are learning just as much from all of you. So if you guys are interested in jumping into our next online cohort, that starts June 9th. So it'll go into the summer. And if you want to catch the live version of Modern Management of the Older Adult, we are in Asheville, North Carolina, June 22nd. It's going to be a really great course. I've had a whole bunch of people reach out to me that are going to that course already. I'm super excited to meet everyone. And it'll be my first time away from baby. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So today, when we were finishing up the Modern Management course, we always finish up with being an advocate for older adults. And oftentimes what our clinicians talk to us about, especially sometimes in the public setting, is that there is just so many systems barriers that prevent them from being the providers and being the advocates that they want to be. And what do I mean by that? I've talked about this in the past where, either efficiency markers or, what has traditionally been done in that setting is so indoctrinated into the culture that people feel like they can't kind of go outside the box because either they'll have some sort of repercussion or some sort of backlash from administration, or their systems are just not set up for the types of treatment that they want to provide for their older adults. And that can be really, really disheartening when you know what the evidence says and you know what you want to have happen and how you want to treat, and you feel like there are extraneous variables that are making that more and more difficult. And so sometimes it can create this feeling of being alone in this setting, and it can really bog you down over time. And so today I thought that I would highlight some social media accounts that are doing an amazing job of trying to push the envelope and try to push people outside their comfort zones in the world of geriatrics. Because sometimes even if they aren't in your setting, having more and more people and more voices that are looking at either positive aging stereotypes, evidence-informed practice, all of these things in the world of geriatrics is just going to make us stronger, and the more voices that we have in this space, the better, because it allows us to have more examples to pull from, more resources to reach out to, more people who are speaking the same language, and it's just going to create positive change. And so I've created a little bit of a list. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Jaros Health first. So that was Dustin's baby that started as a senior rehab project. But there is 3,100 clinicians who are in this Facebook group, the Jaros community, that are all trying to push the envelope. And every single day, I am so impressed with the quality of the conversations, the the advocacy that people are having in their little niche communities and trying to build out into their communities. And it's a great way to get ideas because inevitably somebody is in the same position as you who has gone through the same struggles and has potentially overcome them in a very unique way. And it's an ability for you to reach out to these clinicians and have those conversations to try and spark change. So the Jaros community is on Facebook, at Jaros Health on Instagram, and they have the Jaros Health podcast, which does evidence-informed episodes about different settings, different days and different times of the week. So they publish twice a week, and they have a home health segment, a sniff segment, evidence-informed like journal club type segment. So all of these things can keep you informed on what the research is saying, talks in a context that is very specific to where you may be practicing, and gives you a lot of information. So Jaros Health is probably the first one that I would be going to if I was looking for resources and help to try and create change in the world of geriatrics in your space. So the other social media accounts, and this account is someone that I'm just starting to follow, is the Note Ninjas. So they are a group of individuals who work on documentation and often talk about different things in the geriatric space. And so they're trying to create resources to help us with the unending amount of paperwork that we often experience, especially in the public setting where you have OASIS start of care, all that type of thing. I'm in the Canadian context, so some of those things don't necessarily apply to me, but one time I was talking about the theory of selection optimization compensation, and I called it SOC, and Dustin told me that that was a dirty cuss word. And so they are trying to help clinicians potentially with resources around documentation. And so because of that, we may have more and more time to create one-on-one care with our older clients and potentially give a little bit of more time to pushing the envelope the way that we would like to. Another one that I wanted to mention, and it's a online account on Instagram, is at 97 years young. So this is not a healthcare provider. This is somebody's grandson. So this is Ernie. Ernie is the 97-and-a-half-year-old. And his grandson runs an Instagram account that highlights the training that him and his grandfather do together. And so he is a personal trainer. He's a power lifter. And the idea around this account is to show and highlight just how resilient people can be at different stages of their life. Ernie is 97. About a year ago, he went in and had an operation for a hernia repair. He ended up having an infection, ended up in ICU for 3 months. And then from there ended up in a rehab hospital. And once he was discharged from rehab, his grandson started working with him in the gym, and they've been working together for a couple of years now on an exercise routine that he highlights on his social media account. And the reason why I love this account is that sometimes we get the kickback from our clients being like, Christina, I am 97 years old. Why do you think that I can do these things? And what Ernie and his grandson is doing is really starting to create social proof around the resiliency of the human body and how much improvement you can make in a stage of your life where you probably wouldn't necessarily assume that you could get stronger, faster, all those types of things. And so it's a really amazing account watching Ernie doing sled pushes and sprints at 97.5. And he's just loves his classical music and talks with a really positive zest for life. And so there's a lot of PTs who are following this account, and I think you should be following it too. So at 97 years young is an amazing account to see just what's capable and possible at an advanced age. So the other one, the next one that I'm going to highlight, and Ernie was on my Instagram account, is the Masters Athlete Collective. So I've talked a lot on this podcast about the Masters Athlete, and from those conversations, I started an initiative called the Masters Athlete Collective. And the idea behind this account is to highlight people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I had Ernie on my account. Who are continuing to compete in sport. And the idea is that there's 2 photos in every profile that I post. One is an action shot where people are actively in sport. So it could be from a competition. It could be a picture that they've taken of themselves in the gym. But the second photo is a normal photo. And the idea behind that is that oftentimes people think that a master's athlete has some sort of variable that they don't have, that there is something in their genetic makeup, there's something about them that makes them different from the 55, 65, 75-year-old that is sitting in front of me in the physio clinic. And the idea behind this second photo is that they are the same. Everyone has a ton of competing priorities. And the idea is to create enough of these profiles to start generating social proof around what is capable at different ages, how we can continue to push boundaries, how we can continue to have a sense of an athletic identity, a sense of self around sport at different ages and different decades of life, and some of the camaraderie and social components of sport that are often very beneficial for people who are in their, especially like their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, to create this environment around themselves, around physical activity and lack of sedentary behavior. So if you guys aren't following the Masters Athlete Collective, that is a shameful self-plug around some of the initiatives that I'm taking part in. I would love for you to follow along with the Masters Athlete Collective because it's been a really, really fun initiative for me to be able to reach out and talk to a lot of these really, really incredible athletes who are continuing to bust barriers all the time. Okay, so the next group that I wanted to mention is actually from one of the courses that Dustin and I did. So we were in Wind City in Casper, Wyoming, Wind City Physical Therapy, and they have started an initiative called Not Your Grandma's Throwdown, which is a community outreach initiative where they get individuals in their community to come in for a fitness assessment, and then they do a workout with the idea of, taking the assessment, catering the workout to them, and then just kind of showing how incredible that they can do to push their boundaries in terms of physical activity and get involved with the community. And it's just a really fun day. So they've started a social media account to highlight and gain traction for this event. And it's at Strength Through the Ages WCPT, Windy City Physical Therapy. And they have done an amazing job. They just had this year's version of it's Not Your Grandma's Throwdown, and they did a workout that was based on the favorite movements of a member of their community that had recently passed away. So they ended up doing a named workout for this individual as a way to give respect and commemorate their life. So, I'm sorry, my words are totally being jumbled today. But they're a great account, especially if you're in private practice and you are interested in some of the health and wellness side around working with older adults. There's been a lot of people reaching out to us about how to get involved in more of the health promotion side of things. And this is one great initiative. Plus, from a business perspective, it's a great way to do a community outreach event that could potentially draw more people into your clinic. So there's multiple benefits to this type of initiative. And so it's a great example of somebody who has taken a little idea and grown it into something amazing. So Strength Through the Ages WCPT is another great account. The next two are physical therapists who are trying to put out content around sometimes geriatric stuff. So, and sometimes just kind of general rehab things. So Scotty Butcher, he is another fellow Canadian. He is from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and he is the Strength Jedi, and he posts a lot of content and reposts a lot of content from other individuals who are doing work and trying to do some outreach or evidence-informed practice around working with older adults. He does a lot of work in terms of strength and conditioning for improving physical resiliency. He works out of a university in Saskatchewan and works with the physical therapy department there. And so he is on Facebook and Instagram, and he's always posting content around working with the older adult and improving physical resiliency. And so he is a great account to follow. And then sometimes Andrew's account isn't always around older adults, but the Physio Memes page sometimes has mention of the older adult and just has some fun ways to poke fun at physical therapists and get some learned content in as well. He does a lot of sharing, so that's amazing. So those are two physical therapists that work with them. The next one that I'm going to mention, I should have tried to put this in some sort of different order, is the Seasoned Athlete podcast. So this is a group that I became aware of when I started doing the Masters Athlete Collective. And it is a podcast that it does interviews with different master's level athletes at different levels of competition and in different sports. So kind of similar to the profiles that I do with the Masters Athlete Collective, this deep dives into more candid interviews with these athletes. And if you listen to the podcast, the thing that you're going to see is that these Masters athletes, one, are incredible and completely dedicated to their sport. But at the other end of the spectrum is that they have a lot of things that are competing against their time and are dealing with injuries and all of these life things that come up that can often be our barriers or our excuses to being active as we get older. And they talk about how they work through some of those barriers and how they've worked around injuries and things like that. So the Seasoned Athlete podcast, there is an Instagram account as well. And she has been doing an incredible job. I believe her name is Robin. Don't quote me on that. I think it's Robin. Who has started this podcast and has done some apparel and things like that to really start highlighting the master's level athlete. The last resource that I'm going to share with you is actually a Twitter account. And I know, I don't know if this is going to be bad of me to say, but I feel like Twitter is kind of dead now. But some people are still on Twitter. And Atul Gawande is probably one of my biggest role models when it comes to innovative thinking in the world of geriatrics. And he wrote a book called Being Mortal, which I recommend for anybody who is in the geriatric space to be reading this book twice. Because he talks about innovative models for end-of-life care and how our system is potentially not the best system in terms of our metrics and the way that we look at end-of-life care in regards to what is actually important to the client versus what we're taking as the metrics that are success for end-of-life care. And then he talks about different innovative models in regards to how we can transition into more palliative management. And so it was an incredibly eye-opening book for me. I loved it. And he's on Twitter, Atul_Gawande, Gawande. And he is often really pushing the envelope in terms of the way that we're seeing things and questioning things and just being very innovative in how he's going about trying to change healthcare. And now he's become the CEO of a big health insurance firm. And I can't wait to see what he gets up to in that role. So I'll kind of go over the ones that I talked about today. If you follow all of them, they are just such positive influences on my day to day. It keeps me motivated to keep pushing the envelope, trying to make content that is going to keep pushing the envelope and contributing to that in a really positive way. So the Note Ninjas, 97 years young, Geros Health, the Seasoned Athlete podcast, the Masters Athlete Collective, Strength Jedi, Physio Memes, Strength Through the Ages, WCPT, and then on Twitter at Atul_Gawande. So if you guys need any motivation that's going to give you a little bit of a pump, a little bit of a zest for your day in terms of working with your older adult clients, I recommend that you follow these 9 accounts. And if you need any other recommendations, feel free to drop them into the comments below. All right. The more and more talk that we can have in geriatrics, the more and more we can push the envelope of what to expect from our older adult clients. The more we are going to kick that ageism sentiment, the more we are going to be able to assess, not assume that people based on their age are going to be capable of X, Y, and Z. And so I hope you guys love those accounts. Let me know if you follow them. That would be amazing. And we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Have a great Wednesday, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the weekly Jerry on Ice segment of the Geros Health podcast. If you found this episode helpful, you should go to geroshealth.com to check out our course offerings that will make it easy for you to better serve older adults. Once again, that's GEROS health.com and click on the courses tab. Thanks for listening.